lot of high value women, they excel in corporate America, but they're horrible at dating. They find the wrong men. They're bruised. And they're unprepared for the right man to come along.
We'll discuss race and how it plays a factor and how we didn't even talk about this topic because we were afraid.
A Black Executive Perspective.
Welcome to a Black Executive Perspective podcast, a safe space where we discuss all matters related to race, especially race in corporate America. I'm your host, TonyTidbit.
And I'm your co-host, Chris P. Reed.
And again, we are live at WNHU 88.7 on that Richter dial, which is shaking because the students are starting to come back in at the University of New Haven. Again, we thank them for their partnership or allowing a Black Executive Perspective podcast to use their facility. And we're looking forward to incorporating a lot of the students this year as guests on the Black Executive Perspective to hear their perspectives in terms of how they see the world. So go Chargers, and we'll see you soon on the show.
We also want to thank our partners at CodeM Magazine, whose mission is saving the Black family by first saving the Black man. Check them out at CodeM Magazine. That's 2 M's, CodeMMagazine.com.
Yeah, definitely check them out. And you're going to check out somebody from CodeM today because we're going to dive deep with Brad Boland, who is the president of CodeM Magazine. And we're going to talk about the intricacies of dating high-value women. Based on his impactful article in the August issue of CodeM Magazine, it's titled, "So You Want to Date a Boss Babe?" Brad is here to offer his insights into the complex dynamics of dating such women. He will highlight the essential preparations and the mindset shifts necessary for successful relationships.
So we definitely want to welcome you back to Black Executive Perspective podcast, Brad. You know, it's been a while, but you seem to be doing well for yourself.
Hello, my brothers. Thank you for welcoming back. It's been an excellent summer, and I'm happy to be here.
That is awesome, buddy. And so tell us a little bit what you've been doing over the summer, buddy, since last time we've seen you.
CodeM has us traveling a little bit, and then kids are back in school. Was in Mexico for a week. My brother got married, and a lot of golf, fellas, a lot of golf.
How's that golf game?
It's up and down. It's up and down.
At least you're being honest.
You know, it's a work in progress. I'll put it that way.
All right. Well, look, man, number one, I'm looking forward to coming out there to Cleveland and playing with you a little bit. And again,
yes, sir.
I'm just going to, I just started picking up the stick. So I'm taking lessons. I'm trying to get my game. However, I never lack confidence. Okay.
Okay.
So when I come out there, be prepared. You're going to be thinking about when you were a kid, when you were, you didn't do your homework and your mom came at you. All right. That's what I'm going to blame you when
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm not scared of you at all.
Okay. You shouldn't be scared. Yeah. You just should be on notice.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
Well, listen, buddy, we're ready to hear from you. You wrote a great article, although you've been, traveling and stuff to that nature this summer. You haven't been, you still are producing great stuff for CodeM Magazine. Your August issue, basically, you wrote this article about do you want to date a boss babe? So we're here to talk about it. So are you ready to talk about it, my brother?
Let's go.
All right, let's talk about it.
So the one thing I want to do is I want to remind some and introduce to others the author, the advocate, the entrepreneur that is Brad Boland as the president of CodeM Magazine. Give us a little flavor of how you got to this point and what the design of CodeM is all about and, some of the tidbits that we'll be getting into in the article itself.
So CodeM Magazine was created by Bilal Akram, who is our CEO, founder, and publisher. And he had a background in EAP. So he wanted to create a magazine that spoke to Black men. And he created CodeM where it would heal, it would provide insight, and it would showcase and highlight Black men doing incredible things. We had a chance meeting. I came on board as a co-owner and president of the company because my background is in journalism and publications. And so I was able to provide him with the technical background to take us kind of to the next level beyond where he could take us. But his vision allowed the magazine to be created. And then me kind of coming on board allowed us to become a national publication, digital publication, because my background in marketing allowed us to uh, grow the magazine digitally. And so together, man, we're a serious 1-2 punch, much just like you and Tony.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yes,
And
sir.
and I've read plenty of things recently, but and very impactful, powerful things. This actually was to me somewhat of a departure. So
Yeah,
usually, you know what I mean. So just keep real. Let's, this is kind of like,
Well, we write heavy articles all year, and so we try to keep it light sometimes. And so our August issue was a little light.
okay.
And we like to cover heavy, deep content to stay divisive in our community, but we also like to cover social stuff, water cooler stuff, if you will, things that men are talking about and at the barbershop and around the water cooler. And this is one of those topics.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it was hot.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
very entertained, very
yeah.
enlightened, but definitely, what was the brainchild when you came? I mean, is this when the 2 o'clock in the morning or fell off the toilet flex capacitor gets invented? How did you come up
Yeah.
with this concept of boss
Hey,
babe?
because I'm out here dating boss babes, man.
That's
So,
what it is. That's it.
hey, personal research,
Okay.
right? So I was like, well, I mean, I'm in that world,
Right.
and a lot of times, articles that I write come from personal experience, and or I'll be somewhere and somebody will say something, and I'll be like, I'm writing that down, and that's going to become an article. That happens a lot because the one thing that we want to do is we want to reflect society, right? So the things that people are thinking about, we want to report on. And so since I'm personally out here dating right now, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write about this because high value women are a special breed, and I've learned a lot over the course of my dating experience and dating them. And I tried to encapsulate that into an article that would help other brothers understand what it takes to not only court but maintain and date and respect women that are high value.
Buddy, so it's funny, and that was a great quick question that Chris asked you. Like, what was the epiphany for you
Yeah.
to write this, right? And you like, hey,
Right.
I'm out here dating them, so I
Yeah.
need this is real life. So I'm going to read an excerpt of your article, and since you told me that, now I definitely get it because in this paragraph right here in the article, and check it out on CodeM.com, their August issue. So Brad writes. So you want to date a boss babe, and I quote, if you're a man who like to date high value women, you better be prepared as to what it takes to date one successfully. It won't be simple. You can't go into the dating process uninformed. You'll have your feelings hurt, right?
Right.
All right.
Right.
So I'm just I don't see no tears, but I can imagine this could have happened. But to be fair, all jokes aside, I love the way you started this off because it's so true, right? A lot of men do want, or they say they want to hire the queen. Excuse me, to date and marry the queen, right?
Right.
But they're not prepared to date and marry the queen because it goes a lot more into it just based on, hey baby, how you doing, and you look good, right? So speak
Right.
to that a
Right.
little bit, my man.
Well, so I started the article off that way because you have to be prepared and you have to understand the mindset of a high value woman if you're going to date her. It's not for the faint of heart, right? She worked very hard to get to where she is. She's career oriented. She does carry some alpha traits if she's going to get to where she is. And that her lifestyle is of a certain kind, and you better be prepared to come correct if you're going to court and date one because their lifestyle must be maintained. They're not going to stop their lifestyle just because you come up. And if you don't understand what it takes financially, the commitment it takes, the time it takes, you're going to get your feelings hurt.
So break it down a little bit. So let's and just so everybody's on the same page. When we say high value woman, all right, and you just got finished talking about, there's certain they expect they are certain things. Break it down for us. Define what is a high value woman from a characteristic standpoint, stuff to that nature.
Okay, so a high value woman is somebody who's typically degreed. They don't have to be, but they're typically degreed.
Right.
They've gone to school. They either have their master's or their doctorate. They've obtained a level of success that has them at CEO, C-suite level. If they're an entrepreneur, they're probably making 300 plus, 150 to 300 plus. And so they also have an expensive lifestyle to maintain, because of somebody who's high value, when they walk into either a boardroom or a meeting, they want to look the part, right? So they're probably spending north of $1,000 a month to maintain their look, their body, their mindset. They travel exquisitely. Their passport is stamped, right? And so, they don't need you. They're already going on girls' trips. They're going by themselves to the island where the cabin is on top of water, right? You need a boat to get to the cabin. So, these are the kind of women that if you want to court them, either you need to understand what it takes to be able to maintain that lifestyle. And here's the thing. They're not necessarily looking for you to match, but you can't come in complaining that they're doing the things that they're doing.
Buddy, so I was grinning a little bit when you were saying that. Not of the definition, just of the women that I know that fit that bill, right?
Yeah. Right.
And you said a couple of things. You said a whole lot, but you said a couple I want to back up on. You said, number one, they okay being by themselves. Okay. And to me, that right there tells you how high value they are. Yes, they make good money. They're on the C-suite and have degrees and stuff to that nature. But they love themselves so much that at the end of the day, and I'm not saying that as a negative. What I'm saying is that the first thing people have to understand is that you want to meet people at your level and above. Okay. And if they're not your level, then you don't want to deal with them because it's going to be an issue. And so you have to love yourself first, right? That, hey, I'm okay by myself. All right. I don't need nobody to complete me. Okay. And if I find somebody, that's great. I want somebody, but I don't have to. And that's basically what you're describing. Right. And,
Correct.
and that's just the bottom line. Okay. Now, they do want somebody. Okay. Let's be clear. Everybody wants to be in some type of relationship. Right. One of the things, though, so talk a little bit about and I got another question I want to ask you, but I want to hear a little bit. So talk a little bit about, guys' mindset when they try, because some guys are intimidated by that. Some women on that level don't get a lot of opportunities, especially with black men, to be fair. Okay.
Correct.
Because
Right.
they're intimidated by all the things that you just got finished talking about. So speak to that a little bit.
So they are intimidated, and it can be intimidating to approach, speak to, try to date. I was going to say get on the same page, but just try to create some chemistry with a woman that's high value, because it can be intimidating because of the lifestyle that they live. Right? They're driving a Mercedes, they're driving a BMW, they live in a high-rise condo, or they have a home that is magnificent. Right? Their life is commensurate to their income level and their education level. So sometimes men can be intimidated by that, because unfortunately, when the education movement came, black women were allowed to go to college, they excelled, and unfortunately black men did not go to college with the same fervor. And so we are unfortunately behind in becoming financially secure the way that black women have become financially secure. And so it can be intimidating. But here's the one thing I'll tell you: even though they are high value, they still covet the things that men can provide: protection, provisioning. And provisioning doesn't mean money. Provisioning can mean assistance. Can I fix this? Can I show up in different ways? Can I be a resource for you that you don't have? And so they do desire relationships. They do desire men. And I think for most part, women that are high value have decided that if they're going to find companionship, they may have to date down. And I don't want to say down in terms to make that a derogatory term. When I say date down, they may have to date and be okay dating a man. He may make 100. He may make 90. He might be professional as well, but he may not have attained the level that she's attained. And she's got to be okay with that if she's going to have a successful relationship.
Let me ask you a question here, and I'm going to start with the end, and then I'll give you some backstory on it. Okay, some real stuff. So,
Okay.
is there an age denominator you have with this? And now let me give you the story. I was young. I was in my 30s. I was probably 30, and I met this young lady, and she was 26. She had got out of law school, blah blah blah, did all of her things, and she was doing it right. She was high value as far as I was concerned at that point in time. The moral of the story is I quickly realized the years that I had spent in relationships and kind of going through compartmentalizing as men do, she had focused laser focused on education. So she
Right.
was so far behind me in the game of relationships and how to navigate, back and forth, good communication, conflict resolution, all that stuff. She was a novice in. And I had a candid conversation where I said, "Hey, you're a wonderful woman. Great, great trajectory, great everything. But where I've been tactical, you've been strategic. And unfortunately, now on your calendar, you checked off these boxes, and now it's time to get a good brother.
Right.
And you would be pulling me back really at this point in time. You got to get some weight up on you before you come into where I am. So what age are you referring to as far as a high value woman is ready for those type of things? Because if you think about it, what you stated was she created her focus here, put her eggs in that basket, achieved, especially a Black woman. They got to
Right.
be, and we've had episodes before. We talked about how did you balance being a mom and getting on a plane and your kids crying when you're leaving and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of pressure for women in general, especially Black women that are at
Right.
that type of level. They've given up something and now they're trying to make up for lost time.
Yeah, so for me, I'm 53, so
Mhm.
my dating wheelhouse is somewhere between 45 and 57,
Okay.
right? So I can't speak to a high value woman that's in her 30s. I can't say that she's high value
Mhm,
yet.
mhm,
I don't know if she has enough experience
mhm,
to say she's high value,
mhm.
but what I can tell you is that the window of 42, 45 up to 57, these women are typically divorced.
Mhm.
They have children that are either in high school or in college or grown,
Good business.
and they are looking to re-enter the dating pool. They've spent some time alone, or either they've just exited a marriage and they're looking to kind of get back out there, or they now have what they're looking for with the financial fulfillment, career fulfillment, and they realize, man, I still don't have the happiness that I thought I would have when I got this job.
Mhm.
So now let me go see if the relationship will fill that void, right? Because we all want to have somebody to come home to.
Mhm.
We all want to have the pleasure of experiencing success with someone else. Success is not fun alone,
Mhm.
right? We all know that. And so you want to be able to experience success with someone else. And so I think that's what they're looking for. And I know that's what men are looking for as well.
Yeah. So, one of the things, just in my experience with friends of mine, acquaintances, um, on both sides of the aisle, the women as well as the gentlemen, um, from a woman's standpoint, going back to Chris's point, sometimes when they're so focused on their career, right? And like you just said it again. I mean, you said it earlier. They don't mind being by themselves. They're
Right.
focused on doing it, and they haven't been in the relationship game for a long period of time. Then finally, when they're ready, they some a lot of times get duped in terms dating certain men that don't fit the
Yeah.
bill.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
and
Right.
they get taken advantage of. I should
Mhm.
say, right?
Correct.
That's just a
Right.
fact, right?
Mhm.
And then on the other side, um, I've had friends of mine um, um, who struggled dating women like that because, and you spoke a little bit about it earlier, and especially in your article, these women are A types. All right, they're leaders. Okay, and some of the friends of mine, they struggled with those type women because they felt like they wanted to lead. All right, and they were insecure, and so the only way for them to feel like they were on par, it became a battle versus
Mhm.
being okay that she's at this level, I'm at that level. As long as we can make it work and we provide, her strength may not be my strength may not be hers, but we can bring it together and we fit as a puzzle together. We could
Yeah.
build something, but they don't see it that way. They see it as she's ahead of me. She's got all the money. Well, I don't say all the money, but she makes more money than me.
Mhm.
She won't let me lead. And then the relationship doesn't work. So speak to both of those sides, the lack of experience from a relationship standpoint with high value women, and then what does the brothers need to do, or and I shouldn't even say brothers, what does men need to do to
Right.
prepare themselves to date and hopefully create a romantic relationship with these women?
So you are correct. What I found in my research on my own, and then talking to other people to prepare for the article, is that a lot of high value women, they excel in corporate America, but they're horrible at dating. Um, they find the wrong men. They're bruised, and they're unprepared for the right man to come along. And so sometimes, it's like the barber who's got bad hair. It's like the carpenter whose house is a wreck. You know what I mean?
The fitness person who's
Who's
out of
fat.
shape.
Yeah.
And he's telling you,
the
pushing you.
chubby doctor.
Yeah. So, while they've excelled corporately, personally they struggle, right? So you guys ever come across somebody who's super intelligent, but then they lack horribly in one area or
Common
aspect of their
sense,
lives?
stuff of that nature, right?
Yeah, and I don't want to insult women by saying common sense, but I think that they make horrible decisions in who they decide to date.
Mm-hmm.
And so what ends up happening is if you come behind that and they haven't healed or they haven't recovered or they haven't done the work to get to where they need to be so they are dateable, what you end up doing is you struggle because, as Chris, to your point, you're prepared. You've done the work. You've become the man that you need to become to be a viable candidate to date a female, but she has not done the work. And accountability is a struggle. A willingness to either change or grow from a position. And most importantly, man, move on from the past.
Right.
And I don't want to get into red flags yet because I don't know if we're going to talk about that. But
definitely. We're going to talk about red flags.
Talk about that for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So I'll leave that on the shelf for a second. Now, let's get to the men because men have a problem too. If you're going to date a woman that's high value, you have to come prepared and understand that you need patience because she's used to doing the work, right? She's used to the process. And so men have to be, we can't be conquerors. They don't let black men own anything. So one of the places we try to conquer life is through women. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're going to attempt to date a high value woman, she's not going to be conquered. She know the game. She know how to play the game. She can see it coming a mile a minute. So, the sweet talking and all of that, it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. So we have to be prepared as black men to come in. Tony, I see you laughing.
No, I'm laughing because songs are going in my head. I remember years ago, what was the song? And women used to sing it. You got to have a J-O-B if you want to be with
no
me.
Scrubs.
Yeah.
No Scrubs.
And then music. Remember Music, the artist? He came out with a song and, buddy, that's why I'm laughing because it's just so true.
Bro.
It's so true.
It's so true. I'm telling you, man, the struggle is real.
Yeah.
And, you have to be able to be mature. I think you have to have some patience. And I also think that you have to have the fervor to be able to understand it. And I had to have my 20-year-old explain it to me the best. And I'll just say it to you this way. Women are going to be masculine until you give them a reason to not to be. Right? She's walking around by herself. She's coming to a home, so she's got cameras. She's locking the door behind her. She's closing the garage door because she does not have protection. So if you cannot come in and provide some meaningful companionship, she's not interested. And I think that we have to understand that we have to bring more to the table than some good looks, some flowers, and some game in order to attract and keep a woman of high value.
What I'll say is that the patience part that you talked about. So I was talking to my boy, this is somewhat recent, last 5 months or so. He's a high value guy, you know what I'm saying? And he started dating this woman who was a high value lady. Now, What happens is what you're speaking to, which is because she was high value, her ex was also high value, but he had inadequacies, deficiencies, or whatever. And when my boy started dating her after she had been divorced, I think a couple years or something like that, everything was a trigger. She had so much PTSD
Yes,
because
bro.
he was high value. He reminded her of the good
Yes.
stuff, but
Yes.
anything he did
Yes.
reminded her of the bad stuff. And so he
Yes.
was
Yes.
he was like, bro, I didn't go to school like you for psychology. I can't talk her down
Right.
from some of these simple things. It's like she either wants it all or she wants me to do it all. There is no in
Yeah.
between. And so that
Yeah.
compromise component, how do you then, when you meet someone who's, and women, you know, tend to carry things, right? And what he said was, I told her to check that baggage because that don't fly with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you
Right.
gotta check that at the
Yeah.
door. But she had that, and she openly, and this was the saddest part about it. She knew it, and she told him,
Yeah.
I have a lot that I had gone through in my 15-year marriage, blah, blah, blah. And so I don't know if I can move on and get over it. And that was admirable to say, but he was like, what am I supposed to do with that? So in the idea of patience, where is the threshold there?
So, let's talk a little bit about that, because what I often tell men, if you're going to date, and this is any woman, not just a women of high value, but men, we come into relationships, we want to date your future. And a lot of women tend to date their past, right? And so if you have a woman that's constantly talking about her marriage or the ex-boyfriend, that is a red flag. What you're going to find is they haven't moved beyond their highest point of pain. They also have developed a pattern where if they're talking about their past a lot, they covet their past. So you can't help a woman create a future when she's staying in her past. You cannot hold boxes up and build new boxes at the same time. You have to let one go. And so, what I would tell you, and like your friend who is dating a woman who had a hard time moving on from her past, I would not date her. That is probably the highest red flag that I would warn men about, is if you're talking to a woman and you go on the first date, second date, third date, and by the time the third date, you know her ex-boyfriend better than you know her, don't date her, because you'll never, ever get this woman to like you. And 9 times out of 10, if he calls her and say, baby, I miss you, she's going back to him.
That's automatic.
And so so now you can date her, you can have a little fun, right? But don't marry her, and don't expect for it to be long-term. You date her, you go out, you have the fun and all of that, but do not expect for that. You better be prepared for her to leave at some point, because when her past comes back, she's going to choose her past and her future. And so that is my first and largest warning to any man who is looking to date a woman who struggles with moving beyond her highest point of pain.
Right. So one of the things you list out a few things in your article, and one of them is about authenticity, right? And even Chris telling that story of his friend, the lady was straight up though. She was like, look, I'm just gonna be straight up with you. I have a challenge here, right? So she was being authentic, but to your point, that's a red flag. Okay. Now let's do the antithesis of that. From a woman's standpoint, what red flag should she look out from a male standpoint, right? Because here's the thing. And in that example, both parties were at a high value stage, right? But a lot of times it's the woman that's at the high value and the guy is looking up to her, right? And it doesn't mean that it can't work, right? So number one, what do men, especially if they don't make the same amount of money, they may not have the same education. And we've seen relationships where it has worked out, right? So
yes, it has.
So what number one, what characteristics, and I'm talking mental stuff, right? What things do men need to do? And then what red flags should high value women look out for men? Because we talked about it. They're so focused on their career. They don't spend a lot of times building relationships, and they get in relationships with guys. And we've all know people where you're looking like, how are you with him? Okay. You are on a whole
daily basis.
other level than this person, right? How did that happen? How did you get here? Right. So speak to that a little bit, my brother.
Well, first of all, you have to understand that people are attracted to certain things, right? Height, looks, body frame, humor, intellect. And so, you can't control who you like and who you don't like. That's the first thing. The second thing is that, women that are high value, if they're comfortable with themselves and they're healed, they will give a man a chance if he can come in and he can fill a void. And what I often say to couples who are looking to date is the goal is to find a way to fill your gaps, you fill my gaps, and together we become a better couple. If you find a woman who believes in that, even though she makes more money, she's looking for a man for structure, for leadership, for guidance, and companionship. She already has everything that she needs. So if she's serious about filling the voids in her life, she will give a man that makes less a chance. I think what we got to do is we have to get out of our own heads and expect that we have to make more than her. Okay, we all see what's going on with inflation. We all understand that it takes two for a household to become solvent today, right? So we can't be all worried about, hey, she makes more than I do. Because if you put your money together like you're supposed to, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
So men have to be able to come to the table with something other than, hey, like I said before, my game is tight. I can do this. You have to be mature. You have to be intentional. You have to have a game plan in sight, and you have to have an end game in sight. And so I think, to answer your question, of high value women, the red flags that they find in men who are not serious, men who are coming in to conquer, men who are playing games, men who, are hiding the phone, lying about where they are. I texted you at 3, you text me back at 8. You know what I'm saying? So they're paying attention though, bro. And they don't have times for games. They got 3 board meetings tomorrow. They sit on 2 committees. They're volunteering, and they go on to Turks and Caicos at the end of the week.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they're not playing games, and you can't come in playing games because they're not having it.
Let me throw this at. If you mind if I add something to that, my friend?
Yes, absolutely.
Because I think one of the major things is insecurity from a male standpoint, right? Being insecure. Because like you said, you wrote about authenticity, right? And at the end of the day, when people are insecure about themselves, then it's hard for them to be with somebody, to be themselves with somebody else, to be open and honest. Let's give an example here. You painted the picture, high education, boardroom, blah, blah, blah. Her mate doesn't have to be on that level, but makes her feel secure mentally, can chat with her on a social level, right? On an emotional level, right? That's good. You see my point here is that it doesn't have to be tit for tat. It could be, hey, I can, when I'm with her, when she's with me, I'm making her feel comfortable. She's been out slaying lions all day long. When she comes home, she can be herself. I can listen to her. I can be empathetic to her. So there's a lot of things that you can bring to the table that doesn't match up, dollar for dollar or car for car, and still create a very, you're a good father. She sees you as being a father figure for her kids. Those things matter probably is more valuable than the finances and stuff to that nature. Because to your point, if you're coming together, typically people put their money together because they're looking to build a future together. What's your thoughts on that?
So I agree with you, but here's the one thing that I want to really have men focus on. The one thing that I think attracts high value women the most is if you have a game plan as a man, or you have intentionality, meaning your career focused as well. Now, your career may not be CEO like hers, but do you get up every day with the intent to make your life better so she can see action? She doesn't want to see complacency. She wants to see action. So as long as she feels like your future is there and she can see a future with you, then she's okay. But if she can't, because you're doing some video games or you doing some stupid stuff, you have a problem, and don't even attempt to, because your feelings will get hurt. And so I agree with you. She's looking for somebody that can come in, and I don't know if she's looking for leadership as much as she's looking for partnership.
A partner, yeah.
Because I don't think you can turn off leader. She's not going to go run a team of 20 in the day and then come home and shrink for you at night. So you better be prepared for debates, for a difference of opinion. But if she's fighting for the relationship to win, you have a fighting chance.
And I
So
would add, so when I say leader, and because number one, you're 100% right. What I say leader is that when she's not there, you're stepping up. Okay, you're
yes,
handling certain. You're not waiting for her to come home and say, "What should we do?" All right, you're
right,
stepping up, and then vice versa. When you're not there, she's stepping up. See, to me, leadership is something that can be a yin and yang in a relationship, right? And it's understanding that, hey, we got each other's back. When she's not here, I'm going to handle this. And when I'm not there, she's going to handle this. Right. And
right,
we're going to talk,
right.
we're going to communicate. So that's the part of the leadership part that I was talking about. But, buddy, you're 100% correct. I love it. And this is the thing, my man. You know, like I said, a lot of I hate to use the word a lot, but we've seen Black women who are high value Black women end up dating and marrying white guys, right? And look,
Yes,
at
we
the end of
do.
the day, you can marry anybody you want to, right? But one of the reasons I've chatted with, trust me, I've talked to a lot, and they said, Tony, I would love to marry somebody in my race, but guess what? I can't find nobody on my level, and it's not always about the money. Okay, it's about the things that we talked to, that you just got finished articulating. Speak to that a little
Correct.
bit, my brother.
Well, I think that if you take a look, and I'm not trying to insult anybody here, but a lot of times Black women who are in alpha positions will go and date a beta, and I think a lot of white men are betas. They will allow her to lead, rule, dictate, overpower, overbear, and he just simply puts up with it, and so it's a perfect match. I think the challenge is that you know if we're going to have Blacks dating Blacks, we've got to find a common ground where we respect each other's opinions, and we find a way to work together, right? Because you can also take a look at a lot of Black men are dating white women because they find white women to be more agreeable, more tolerable in terms of what they will allow Black men to do, and Black men feel like they're easier to get along with. And so we have that spectrum on both sides to where you say, okay, well, why is this happening over here and why is that happening over there? And so, man, one of the goals of CodeM is to save the Black family. But before we can do that, we have to save the Black man. And so the article is speaking to that because we've got to find a way to bridge the gap and the confusion, the frustration that I think we have for each other. And we've got to find some chemistry and some compatibility with each other so we can have more Black couples getting married than what we have right now. So that's one of the reasons I wrote the article. And the second one was to have some fun with it because I'm out here dating and I wanted to write about it. And, so that's why I wrote the article.
So hold on, though, bro. I got to say this, though, because I might have married the wrong white woman. All right. My wife,
Right.
she ain't amenable.
Yeah.
She ain't,
I know your wife, bro.
you
Yeah,
know my
yeah.
wife, she ain't taking
You got
no
your
go-
hands full,
Yeah,
dude.
gotta take it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm on the wrong side of that one. All right.
Yeah.
But go
Yeah.
ahead, Chris.
I think that one of the things that we're talking about is EQ, right? And a lot of people don't have a high EQ and they don't calibrate their emotions very well. It's hard to be ambitious and humble. It's so damn hard. And so the idea of when you're a $500,000 guy, you have ego, and you bringing ego because that's how you got to where you are. Your drive, your passion, your persistence is based off of your confidence level and your ego. To be able to take a step back, now you add another ego, like you said, alpha type situation, right? But now you're adding another ego into the situation. You guys have to over communicate and over try and over, try to, be sensitive to each other's situation, because what happens is my ego says that in my past, I've dated women that were more than happy to have me plan everything and pay for everything and take care of things and take the lead in this and that. Now I'm with you and you like, I want some of that lead. I want some of that plan. I want some of this. And I can be completely candid with you. If this thing don't work out I got going on now, I'm still going to go to Whole Foods, but I'm not buying bruised fruit. I'm buying good fruit. So when a woman come in and she bruised, I'm like, I'm better than that now. I used to buy used tires. I don't anymore. All my stuff is Michigan run flats. So Michelin run flats. So the idea is when you get to a certain point, there's a lot of over communication. There's a lot of over emphasis on this is where I am, and upfront and early, you have to be willing to be vulnerable and say, this is what I feel I like and what can complete me or what can add to my equation. Then she says the same thing. This is where I'm trying to add. Because if you both aren't filling those gaps, as you stated previously, then you're just bumping heads. She's trying to prove to you that her portfolio is a better portfolio than your portfolio, and we just made the money because you came in 2% under me, in the year-to-date projections. And that it becomes more of a pain to a high-value brother than it's worth. The juice ain't worth the squeeze, because if I had a chick that was one rung down, these aren't even conversations. She's not even asking about a dividend or EBITDA or none of this. It depends on what you're trying to get, as you stated, projection into the future. My mom always told me, we ain't got a lot, but if you can give a woman a good plan, you can get a good woman.
Yeah. So speaking to that, I think, if you look at the dynamic of being a high value man, we will date a cashier from McDonald's.
Fries at Arby's.
So we will date the gorgeous waitress, right?
Yep. Out.
We will date, the lady, you don't go get a pizza, and the lady that gave you the pizza, she fine, bro. I'm getting her number, right?
Right.
So for us, it's easier to date down, because one of the goals of a man is, once he becomes financially stable, he is looking to be a resource to a female and someone to take care of.
Yeah, exactly.
When a high value woman becomes successful, she's looking to be independent of a man, right? So men look to provide for a family. When a woman gets money, she's looking to say, I'm independent of a family. So for us, once we obtain a certain level of financial success, we're typically looking for a female who stays in her femininity, where she's agreeable. She understands that you're a leader. So I don't know, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it, but what I found is that most men who are high value will typically not date a woman of high value, because if you go find a woman who has no pain, who has no trauma, who was raised to be a wife, not raised to be a independent person, you're going to have a better outcome than if you go find a woman who's had a lot of pain. She was in an abusive marriage. And when I say abusive, I don't mean physical. I'm talking about mental. Right. That mental abuse, bro, is devastating. These women never recover from being in an abusive relationship. And then they tend to bring that into their next relationship. So here you are, and I tell women all the time, I'm starting off with an A. I don't want his D. Give me my A. And if I find, and if, a lot of times I'm just checking. So, by the third week, I'm like, okay, well, I'm out, because she's trying to give me the D that the other brother created, and I want the A that I got. Right. I'm a unicorn, bro. So, here I come to the table. I've worked on myself. I've done the work. I'm prepared. I'm healed. I bring no trauma. I'm giving out A's. So if you find a woman that's high value and you're a high value man, sometimes that's oil and vinegar or water or whatever they say.
Absolutely.
And so I don't know if that works. I think it's so hard for her to find somebody to date up, because women date up, men date down. And if she's already at 300K, she's already educated, where is she going?
Let me say this though, real quick,
Chris.
Tony.
Go ahead.
My sister, is so funny you saying this. She wouldn't mind me saying this too, because she listens. My sister's got a CPA and a master's in public relations.
Okay.
But just like most women that I've known that are Black, strong-minded, strong-willed, and all that, she loves a project. Loves a project. She love a fixer-upper. I can't just blame HGTV.
Yep.
Yeah.
But she love a dude that grew up in Compton and went to Columbia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so how do you get past the idea that a lot of women are prepared emotionally and psychologically to be able to embrace a fixer-upper and then get mad when it's a money pit? How do they need to rationalize that?
So are you asking from a female perspective or from a man's perspective?
Yes, and both.
Okay, so here's the thing. As a man, I would never date a female who's had, Ray and Tommy Boy before you,
Right.
right? If she's dated the clown who won't call her, she jumped into bed too quick with him. Let me tell you something. You're not her first choice. And if Ray come calling, she's going back to him because he represents the trauma she covets. She's so used to trauma, she's comfortable with trauma. If you bring peace, maturity, alignment to the table,
Psychological safety.
it's foreign to her. And because it's foreign to her, she's not going to feel comfortable with it. She's used to being ignored. She's used to being abused, cheated on. So she's not going to find what you bring to the flowers, some dates, you know what I'm saying, some walks. She's going to find that boring.
Or suspicious.
So
or suspicious.
Or suspicious.
Yeah, right.
Or suspicious.
Right.
I don't have to ask where he is.
Right.
I don't have to check your phone. Right? I'm not going through your Facebook to study and find out where the problem is. Right. So as a man, I would tell you, you have to stay away from those types of women. And then on the flip side, if you're a high value woman who is healed, I think you have to be willing to give men the opportunity to see if they can fill a gap for you and be okay with that. And so there's work to be done on both sides, man. It's so complicated right now, bro. Dating today, God, bro, since the pandemic, dating today is one of the hardest things to do because women don't want to be approached.
Right.
There's no nightclubs anymore that you can just go and talk to somebody, and they don't want to be talked to at the gym. Don't talk to them at the grocery store. So, the dating apps are the only place to meet people. And a lot of times what tends to happen is you're looking for a reason to not continue, not for a reason to continue. Right? A lot of times in dating situations, we're checking for the red flags. We're not checking for the green flags. And so, it's a volatile environment, and it's not for the faint of heart, bro.
Buddy, number one, this has been great. Number two, you're awesome. No matter what I said about you prior to the recording. Right? I changed my mind. You're a high value partner. All right. I love you. Right?
We got a convert.
Yeah, exactly. You got me over.
We got one.
I got the candy that came in the mail with the flowers.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Right.
Final thoughts, my brother. What do you want to sum this up with? So number one, everybody should go and read your article in your August magazine, which is great. You cover a lot of other stuff as well. I thought what we talked about was great, but final thoughts, my brother.
Well, the article was written, one, for entertainment purposes, but also to be educational, because I have a lot of friends, male, female, who are in my position across the country. I go around, we travel, I meet a lot of people, and I'm meeting a lot of wonderful people. And then, of course, I'm in a dating world. And so as I'm looking for my person, it was just fun to kind of reflect on that in writing and put it on paper, just to kind of check myself a little bit, right? But my final thought is that I'm an eternal optimist. I believe in love. I love to love. I'm a giver. And so in that essence, I think that you can't give up on it if you're looking for it. And I think that, people come out of your life for a minute, for an hour, and for an eternity. The goal is to find your person. And I think if I had to give advice to anybody, you don't seek female companionship, you attract it. You attract it. So the person for you will walk into your life and you will know it if you both do the work, right? So if somebody walks in and out of your life, don't sweat the details. You're not the cry over spilled milk. It's a moment in time. You stay committed, take the risks. When I date, I treat everybody like I would my wife, man. I show them respect, class. And, if it works, great. If it doesn't, it wasn't supposed to be anyway. And let me just say this final thing. I date and I treat them wonderful. And let me tell you, if they can't handle it, I find out quickly.
Right.
Right? The better you treat them, the faster you find toxicity and the trauma. The better you treat them, the faster you find out if they can handle it. If they can't handle it, they got PTSD, Chris.
Right.
If they can't handle it, then you continue to date until, the ebb and flow of finding a relationship. So my advice to all men is treat her with purpose, date with intention, You will find out very quickly if they can handle it.
Mhm.
So that's my final thought.
Buddy, thank you. I mean, we got Dr. Brad on there.
Dr.
You know,
Love,
Hey,
Dr.
hey,
Love,
look,
man.
right?
you
Oh,
ain't lying.
keep breaking it down, right? You know, but buddy, that is great advice. Number one, great article.
Thank you, sir.
And and you said it. One of the things is that when you can write about something that you're dealing with, right, it also allows you to look in the mirror and say, "Hey, am I ready for this?" And buddy, just based on your final thoughts, you're living the life that you're supposed to. You're treating
Right.
people the way they're supposed to be treated. You're walking the earth, right? And like you said,
Yeah.
if it's meant to be, it'll be. So we
Right.
want to thank you, my man, for coming on the Black Executive Perspective podcast to share your perspective. Don't go anywhere because Brad Boland is going to help us do our call to action. So I think it's now time for
Tony's Tidbit.
all right, and the tidbit today, and Mr. Boland kind of spoke to it. Navigating high value relationships require more than financial acumen. It demands emotional intelligence and genuine respect. And you heard that. And if you read his article, you'll read that in the article that he wrote. So I think it's now time, Chris.
It's time for our reminder for you to tune in to Need to Know with Nasinga. Don't miss this week's Need to Know segment with Dr. Nasinga Burton, a Black Executive Perspective podcast where Dr. Burton dives into timely and crucial topics that shape our community and our world. You want to tune in and gain these insights. She gives so much game each week. So make sure that and it's short, sweet, and to the point. Like she get in, hit you hard, and then get out. But you definitely don't want to miss this. So just tune into the channel and check out Dr. Nasinga Burton on Need to Know with Nasinga.
Exactly. She definitely hits right to the point, just like my boy Brad Boland just did. So hope you enjoyed today's episode, Mastering the Art of Dating High Value Women with President of CodeM, Brad Boland.
I want to first remind you again, check out CodeM Magazine. That's CodeMMagazine.com with 2 M's. But then I also want to invite you guys to our call to action. We want you to always remember to incorporate less, L-E-S-S. The L stands for learn. Educate yourself on racial and cultural nuances. Wherever you can get information that apply, make sure that you apply it. Make sure that you continue to seek that knowledge and educate yourself.
Absolutely. And then after you learn, you have the E. E stands for empathy. Now you should be more empathetic to your friends and your fellow human beings because now you understand what they've gone through.
And then share. The S is for share. Your insights are to enlighten others. So if you have something, it doesn't hurt you to help other people. Please share what you know and help other people out.
Exactly. And then the final S is to stop. We want to stop discrimination wherever it walks in our path. So if grandpa says something at the Thanksgiving table and it's inappropriate, you say, Grandpa, we don't say that, we don't believe that, and you stop it. So if everyone incorporates less, L-E-S-S, we'll have a more understanding world and we'll all be able to see the change that we want to see because less will become more.
So I want you to remind you all, continue to tune in for the episodes. We're going to keep bringing them, so you might as well tune in for them. And then we want you to please check out the website, sign up for the newsletter. Let us know how things is going. Let us know what's on your heart. Leave reviews, subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast, and we'll keep up with you as you keep up with us.
Absolutely. And you're going to see this smiling, high value gentleman, Brad Boland, on our episodes a lot more. He's going to be coming on, very frequently to share his articles and his points of view and perspective. So we got to just make sure that he's taking care of business. All right.
Yeah.
But regardless of the business that you can take care of, you can follow a Black Executive Perspective podcast on all of our socials: TikTok, X, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at a Black Exec. And for our fabulous guest, President of CodeM, Brad Boland. For the co-host with the most, my man down in Dallas, is Chris P. Reed. For the producer that puts all this together behind the glass is Noel. I'm Tony Tidbit. We talked about it. We love you. And guess what? We're out.
A Black Executive Perspective.